Good afternoon, Valley Free Church. And for those of you joining us online, you're part of our online church family. We are glad that you're with us as well. This Sunday is a very special Sunday as we move our worship services indoors back into our worship center, and we are excited about that. And I thought I'd take a few minutes today to give you an update on what that all means and some of the details that go with our transition back inside the building. As I think about that, I think about our church. I think about my family. We took a trip recently, my wife Sandy and I, and 5 of our 7 grandchildren were on a road trip. We drove out to Colorado and we had a great time, and as we always do. But as the hours went by on our driving trip, we started hearing the question that I think all families hear when we're driving together, and families over the generations have heard the same question, and that is this: when are we going to be there? So when it comes to the COVID-19 crisis that we find ourselves in and have been enduring for several weeks and months now, I think we've all asked the same question. When can we leave all these fears, worries, and the guidelines? When can we leave all that behind? And the question has to come up: when are we going to be there? When can we get back to life as usual? And that's a bigger question than I've got time for today, but for our purposes, it's been almost 4 months since we've been together in this room worshiping as a church family. We did have the chance to worship together 3 Sundays ago, and we've been doing that outside on our lawn, and we've been enjoying some outdoor services, and it's been wonderful. The teaching, the fellowship, the worship outdoors has been just a great time for us to be together. And as I think about it, even the heat of the first 2 Sundays didn't diminish our enthusiasm. It was really hot out there, but it didn't diminish our enthusiasm for being together. We're excited about it. This week, our journey continues as we take another step toward worshiping together inside of our building, right here in this very room. For the first time in over 4 months, we'll be in our worship center for a Sunday worship service. To say we're excited about taking this next step is a huge understatement. But I'd like to emphasize the fact that this is still a journey. We need to remember that this is a journey. And as with any journey, that same old question, are we there yet, is ever present. It's important to remember that as excited as we are to worship in our building again, it's not the end of the journey. This Sunday is a big deal, but it's not the whole picture, and it's not the final destination of worshiping together as a church family. Our plans will continue to grow. You'll see us layer on different components, different aspects of this as we go along in the next weeks. So, what should you expect as we come back together inside our building this week? I'd like to take a few minutes to go over some of the essentials. I can't cover the whole list, but some of the essentials for you so you can get a picture of what this will look like this week. For more details, you need to check our website at valleyfree.org, and you also need to check our valleyfree.info site for things like the bulletin and sermon notes and et cetera, et cetera. We'll also send an informative email this coming Friday. You've already received some emails related to this topic this week. So be sure you're on that email list. If you're not, call the church office, send an email to the office at valleyfree.org, and we'll make sure you get on that email list and you can be kept up to date on things happening here at Valley Free. Okay, what are some of the things that we need to be aware of this week as we come together? First of all, I'm starting with the bad news, as I did on Sunday during the announcements. It's good news that we're moving inside. It's bad news that we have to limit our numbers. According to government guidelines, we have to social distance between ourselves, and in order to do that, to accommodate that 6-foot distancing rule, we've had to rearrange the worship center. Our rows are now 6 feet apart, if you can imagine that, and our families will be seated with 3 chairs in between each family unit. So by the time we do that, we calculate that we'll be able to have about 70 people in our worship center. That means that we'll have to limit the number of people who can be in here. And by the way, in our calculations, we're including some extra seats for visitors that may come at the last minute. We don't want to turn anyone away if possible. To accommodate all of that, to help us understand the numbers, we've put a reservation system in place. Never thought I'd say that either about coming to church, that you'd have to reserve a seat, but here we are. See, we don't want to turn people away at the door, so we're asking you to plan ahead and use the reservation system to reserve your spot and to let us know how many in your family are coming to participate. You can find the reservation system again at valleyfree.info and on our website, valleyfree.org. I think if you check your inbox, you'll also find that Pastor Caleb did a very helpful informational video in the last few days regarding the use of the reservation system. He walks you through step by step how to use it. We hope you find it easy. I just did it a few minutes ago. It is certainly easy to do. So we'll need you to do that as you plan ahead for worship on Sunday. Another component of the worship service is that the ushers will be doing extra duty over the next coming weeks, probably for the foreseeable future. They will be greeting you at the door, at the worship center doors. They'll be bringing you into the worship center. As you come in, there'll probably be some ushers up here at the front of the room helping you to find a seat, and we can get everybody spaced out together as they need to be so we can get as many in here as we can while watching the guidelines. The ushers will also be dismissing by row at the end of the service. They'll start at the back of the worship center and dismiss the back rows first. That way we can minimize the risk of contamination by people gathering in a narrow aisle here in the worship center. That seems, as strange as that is, that seems to be conventional wisdom for churches gathering together these days. Now we're only using the worship center doors to access the building and to exit the building. Down the children's education wing, the nurseries, the office, all of that will be closed on Sunday morning. Kids will be in the worship time during the whole worship service. This Sunday we're having a time of communion. This will be the first time since Good Friday that we've celebrated communion together. As you enter the worship center to accommodate our worship time, our communion time together, there will be a table set up at the entrance by the sound booth. You'll come in. We have the communion elements pre-packaged. You can grab those on your way in, and we'll be ready for communion later in the service. For those of you who are watching live stream at home, I would encourage you to prepare your juice and bread in anticipation of the worship, taking worship together as a church family. And as with our outdoor services, you'll be able to download your sermon notes, the study guide, the bulletin, and the connection card, again, from our valleyfree.info site. I'm trying to say that as often as I can to get that across. Valleyfree.info is where you go to download those things. It's also available on our valleyfree.org website. Our goal is to make our time together touch-free, so that we're not handing out things, you don't have to pick up things, there's minimal touching going on. We want to minimize the risk of contagion as much as possible. And then finally, I mentioned live stream a few minutes ago, but our technology team has been working hard to prepare our worship center for live streaming. As I look back at the sound booth today, there's lots of cables and wires going all over. There are new panels, new control panels installed back there. There's a television on the back wall. It's all so that we can have a live streaming event that is effective, that is impactful for reaching into your homes, and you can participate live during our worship service. I don't know if you can see this or not, but up on the stage you'll see some extra lighting. Our electricians were in just today and installed some theater lighting in the ceiling, which we've needed to do for a long time anyway, and that will enhance our live streaming technology as well. So we've done all that. We've made a significant investment, all for the sake of you being able to stay home if you choose to do that. If you're not able to come to the worship center and worship with us, you could be home in your living room and it'll be live and you can join us that way. We will be doing live streaming just the sermon and the communion this week, again as part of our layering. In the next weeks, you'll see us add in the worship component, the worship music, and our worship team as we go along, as we get comfortable with the technology. So if you're at high risk, or if you choose to stay home with your small children, the live stream option should be a great alternative for you. There are a lot more things to share, and I encourage you to check our website during the week as we continue to update with details and continue to layer on ministry opportunities as we go. I hope you can see this as a journey. As we discuss these plans and these options in seemingly endless detail that we've worked on over the last weeks, we continually see the need to take things a step at a time and not implement everything all at once. Hopefully we can take steps towards additional capacity and additional ministry over the coming weeks. At the beginning of this, we set aside 6 goals that we intended to fulfill as we go through these implementation steps. And those 6 goals are still part of our overall thinking of things. These include maintaining our testimony to our community, caring for and maintaining our testimony to our neighbors around here, caring for those in our congregation, abiding by government guidelines, and most of all, following the leading of the Holy Spirit in all that we do. So there is no pandemic guidebook that anyone is going by. We're all doing the best we can, and I hope you'll stay with us and enjoy worship as we move inside this week and take that big step. So are we there yet? No, but we're working hard to get there. We're working hard to get there together, and our desire is to be together and to serve the Lord together and to make an impact in our community. So whether you choose to attend or whether you choose to participate via live stream, our prayer is that God continues to knit us together as a church family wherever you are, and that He expands our impact for the gospel. May that be our prayer as we continue to move forward and take steps to come back together. On your way rejoicing, Valley Free Faith.